Hello everyone and welcome to our workshops Shaping the Future of 3D Web Viewing and Publishing towards an open middleware for cultural heritage. Today we're going to explore how to make 3D cultural heritage content more accessible and sustainable through an open middleware being developed as part of the XR Culture project. Leading the session is Alex Stan, who you just heard from at the previous session. Perfect, thank you. Alex is Innovation Manager at IN2, and he will be supported with the panel of experts, Peter Bonsma, Technical Director of RDF Limited, Vangelis Nomikos from DataWise AI, and online we're going to have Marco Medici, CEO of Inception. This is an interactive session, so we're excited to hear your input. And yeah, let's start.
All right. Thank you very much. I will use this. Thank you very much for being here, and thank you for your interest. So first of all, we also want to know who you are. For this, we're going to use Mentimeter, and I'm going to use Mentimeter a bit more during our session. So it is worth to scan now the code and keep it open. Let me double check if the thing is on. Yes, the presentation is on. I'm just going to turn around my laptop so you're going to see the results live here. I'm sorry, you have to come a lot closer to see them. We cannot present them on the big thing at the same time. But first of all, we want to know who you are. So I'm just going to take half a minute now to let you answer the simple question. Oh, when I can comment it a bit, I feel like being on the radio. So I see that there are many from other cultural institutions, but 4 museums as well, 5 museums. The largest number, though, is university and research center. So very interesting mix of crowds. A couple of technology providers. We don't have archives with us here today. We don't have policymakers, and there are also some other institutions represented, so that is great. Thank you for this initial interactive part. That's just to make sure that you're here, so thank you for that. Now, going back, I need to go to the next thing, sorry. The agenda for today, so what are we planning to do? We are going to give you a very brief overview of XR Culture as a project, just to set the context. It's going to be very brief. Then we're going to discuss a bit why we need a middleware. Why do we do this, actually? And then we're going to present to you the current work in progress towards this middleware. And then we're going to have a really collaborative session where we're going to together discuss and co-create a bit part of the functionalities that we want to have in this middleware and some of the key issues that we see with this. So I think that we can now start with the first part, which is a brief overview of our XR Culture. So XR Culture is a support project for the data space of cultural heritage. It started this February and has some key areas. One of them is employing AI-based techniques for high-quality 3D model creation, in particular for objects which are difficult, like glass objects, reflective objects, and so forth. So we're really looking at new techniques there that can be used by cultural heritage institutions in their digitization of these objects. We're very much focusing also on XR applications in different domains. And the other part is this middleware, which is going to be actually the topic of today's workshop. Very briefly, though, I'm going to say that this is, of course, a collaborative project. So there's a very mixed consortium here, and already you have a couple of partners represented, a couple online. You see here all the different institutions. I'm going to just briefly mention the 2 other parts which are not part of the workshop, which is the first part on AI-based techniques for 3D model creation. So here are some examples of the actual object, the actual glass objects in the museum. So you see, for instance, on the left, this very nice vase and how it looks like when this was digitized. So you see that there's some loss there in the process, and this is what we're trying to improve. this particular aspect. So we will plan to use NERF and Gaussian splatting techniques in order to come up with better results for digitizing these difficult objects, which require a slightly different approach than the normal one. Another area that we're not focusing in this workshop, but we do in the project, is where do we use XR and the 3D objects that we have digitized. We have in our project 4 different, let's say, domains. So one of them is heritage at risk. You have here on the right a scan actually of one of the, I have to admit, I cannot remember now which one of the buildings that is, but it is from Ukraine. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it should be from Odessa. So we're looking at how to enhance the protection of cultural heritage in areas which are threatened by conflict or environmental hazards, actually. So we're looking at some mobile applications there to facilitate this. We're working on heritage for tourism, and I think maybe some of you were in the previous session here where we where I showcased a bit this holograms on the postcards, and you've probably seen something on the Europana stand in the foyer there. We have something looking at dispersed heritage, so how to virtually bring together parts of collections which are no longer physically at the same place. So how can we bring this into an experience for a visitor in a museum? And we're looking for XR for education. Most importantly there, we really want to do a very, let's say, solid benchmarking in a way of how immersive learning compares against traditional approaches. So we're really looking at how this new approach can improve the learning outcomes of students. And for this, we're going to use 3D models of lost heritage. That's it for this part of the short introduction. I think it was short enough, but you let me know if this was short enough and interesting by responding to this very short Menti. All right. So we have 10 responses. Thank you. Most of you thought that this was great, so thank you very much for that. You're very kind. It's anonymous, you know, you can be very sincere. We're fine with feedback. All right, so now I'm going to give the floor to Marco, who should be online and can tell us a bit more about why we need a middleware. And I don't know if Marco, if you can move the slides or if I should do this for you.
If you can do, that would be great.
All right, perfect.
So thank you very much. Sorry for not being there. Actually, I'm not feeling super well today, so I had to skip. And so thank you very much for being participating in this workshop, and thanks to Alex for managing it. So as Alex mentioned, we have 3 main aims under the XR Culture project. So achieve high quality 3D models, in particular for non-collaborative surfaces, and create XR experiences. But what is in the middle? What is in the middle is what we call the XR Culture middleware protocol. So it is supposed to be a layer of interoperability and flexible integration of any viewer. So let's say that we give for granted that each institution will be able to select their own repository on which they want to store their knowledge that they are creating with a 3D model, and they should be able also to be free to select the right solution in order to show it in the best ways possible. So for that reason, we want to do that. Why we decided that there was this need for this middleware. So indeed, which are the current limitation that we are facing. So basically, we have to say that Sketchfab proved to be the current leader in online 3D visualization. Of course, we do know that is the best way to visualize 3D model online, and most of us are using it. But there are some concerns around that. For instance, like depending on from a proprietary platform, having limited data sovereignty, ownership control, and to be too much linked to a platform and so dependent from that platform, and a risk of future instability and not be able to show models. As you may know, from July 21st, in 2021, Sketchfab is part of Epic Games. If we look into the user content license, it says that using those services, Sketchfab is entitled with a non-exclusive, royalty-free, fully paid up perpetually rollable sub-license right and license to use, reproduce, and publish, display, adapt, and modify, reformat, and distribute user content. So we are basically offering to Sketchfab the fact that they can use our model. Furthermore, since Sketchfab has been, or better, Epic Games has been participated by also a Chinese company that raised some concerns in the past, and some consumers were actually stop using it. You can read more on an article that I copy pasted here, and is quite recent. Should be has been published like 2 months ago, and is diving into this topic. So next one. So how to overcome this problem? Of course, in the past years, we developed a lot of 3D viewers. I just copy-pasted here on the screen a few screenshots of some of them. So at Inception, we developed one that is now used by the for some cases from the Italian Ministry of Cultural Heritage. Arthur, who is part of this project, developed their own viewer. We do have much more viewers that has been and are under use in different projects, like a viewer that is used into the 3D data space project, in Eureka 3D XR project. We do have also a famous Atom framework that has been released by the CNR. And so we have a lot of different tools. How to create an intermediary software layer that can allow the users to decide where to store their models and then select the viewer that they want to use. So this is the main question, because we do not want the Cultural Heritage Institution to have the need for deciding which is the viewer that they need to install, they need to use. We do not them to make a choice that then cannot be changed. So we do want a standardized and open environment. Just to make an example, next slide, please. What I found a little bit strange, for instance, is this case, but it's just an example. I mean, there is nothing wrong into that. But for instance, here we are looking at the North Cross of N, that was one of the cases that was aggregated by Ireland during the Twinit campaign. So in the middle, we see a screenshot from the Europeana, in which we do have the description of the object, and the object has been displayed embedding the Sketchfab model that is on the left, but also on the right, we have the same object that is also displayed on the platform 3D Heritage provided by Arthur. And that is great. I mean, we do have the same model displayed on multiple platforms, but we are facing a kind of replica, online replica of different models. So we do see different models, and if the institution is going to update one model, this change is not gonna reflect on the others. So how to ensure that this is possible to have just one unique model that can be displayed by different viewer. So we need to give the full ownership and control to the cultural heritage institution and offer them the flexibility to select, customize, and switch from one viewer to another. All in this way, we are going to enhance really the transparency of use of those models. So just to conclude, next slide, please. Under XR Culture, we are going to aggregate and publish to Europeana more than 1,003 models that will be, most of them will be utilized also in the four XR scenarios that Alex was mentioning, but what I would like to try to work with you today is to understand how we can provide the best middleware protocol possible. And I'm pretty sure that Peter and Vangelis now will guide you through this process and helping us to collect from you some super useful feedback. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Marco, and hope you get well soon. Thank you for
working on it.
Thank you. Thank you very much for being here. Now, Peter will provide you with a bit of an insight into his work, his very recent work into the 3D viewers aspect. Peter.
Thank you. Thank you also, Marco. So I will start with an example of an online 3D viewer component. And afterwards, we're going to talk more about technicalities of the protocol, the middleware protocol. You could also try it yourself. The presentation is going to be online, so you can have the address and the user and the password. So here we have an example library with 3D models that can be accessed and then visualized. So you can see it in a 3D viewer that is running fully based on WebAssembly in the browser. But we're not only talking about viewers, we're also talking about the surfaces behind. So here we also have a surface to apply photogrammetry based on 2D images. So for this surface, we require the 2D images to be stored somewhere, in this case, for example, on a public GitHub page. Then you can run the surface. You can send the public GitHub page, and you can start the process. It will work for 10-20 minutes, and then you can either download the model, 3D model, or you can directly visualize it in a 3D viewer. So for us, this also to understand what part is going to be of the middleware protocol. Are the surfaces going to be part of it, and what surfaces? What is the data source? Is it the 3D model, or is it maybe the 2D images already? So here, then the generated image of the 3D model generated from the 2D images, all based on open source solutions. So far,
Yes, so we have reached another milestone, and thank you very much for your attention so far. So this was a short introduction, yes, thank you for letting us know how this part on the middleware was, on why we need the middleware. And I will give the floor now back to Peter, actually, who is going to give us more insights into this.
Thank you. So now we're going to go more into the technical details of the middleware protocol and where we are and what we have. So for the middleware protocol, we need to understand what kind of formats are supported at the moment, what kind of functionality is requested from the viewers, and what the middleware should be capable of understanding that the viewer can do, and what kind of services has to be run. So here, just a few open standards that could be supported by the viewers. Down here, different examples of different viewers, of different formats and different functionality interface-wise. Sorry, one back. Here. So we not only need to understand what viewer can do in the sense of formats, but we also need to understand what kind of functionality the viewer itself has. Of course, things like zoom, pan, rotate, but maybe also if there are objects that have multi-select of measurements functionalities, and maybe the initial positioning or enabling of parts of the model or disabling of parts of the model, and an interface, how this positioning can be controlled and understood between the middleware and between the website that's going to use this viewer and then the viewer itself. So in the end, the middleware protocol is in the center between the viewers and the data storage. So the protocol allows different ways of storage to drive the different viewers. And next to it, we have then, of course, the services, and we have the user, the website that will apply the middleware protocol. So if we talk about the protocol itself, it's a no-code solution. So in principle, it exists of two parts. It's the message content and the message structure of the communication between the technical parts. This is something the user will not see, but this is something the technical components have to communicate with each other. So these are the messages that are going on between the different software, and it's the workflow, the processes. So which component, how the viewer communicates with the middleware server, or the server compatible with the middleware, and how it communicates with the backend, and then how it makes it possible for the end user to just see a website, and instead of a 2D image, have a 3D image automatically with one of the selected viewers. So although the protocol itself is a no-code solution, so it's like a standard, of course we need to develop also a solution that can show that it really works. So we're also building a solution, in this case based on .NET Core, as a desktop application, but this could be anything. It could be developed in Java or whatever, but we chose this. So we did make an implementation for the middleware compatible service and for a 3D viewer component. Now we implement it. Now we can start the game. We can start talking with each other. So here, this is an example of how it looks. On the right side is the server. On the left side is the viewer. So here the viewer, of course, nobody will see this, but this is what happens underneath. Will start talking to the server. It will have a registration request. The server will accept or not accept the registration request based on the structure, the content. Once it's accepted, the viewer will ask for an authorization request, and then the server will say or accepted, and then it's success, and then it's authorized. So the viewer is part of the set of viewers that can be used by this middleware, or it's not success and something has to be adjusted. So far.
Actually, I opened this now already for questions because we're going to go into a more, let's say, co-creative process in a minute or two. But first, I think this was very technical. And I see that some people were kind of wondering, what am I hearing here? What is this? So maybe this is the time to ask questions, burning questions.
No questions.
No
So
questions.
everybody understands it.
Then you can tell us in the Menti if it was really addressing your curiosities and level of detail. Yes. Sorry. Thank you for saying that. I have to do that, yes. Up. Here we go. Now it should be the right Menti to let us know if this part of the workshop was good or if we lost you on the way. All right, and afterwards, we're going to go into the interactive part of this. So I'll start to explain what will happen now. There's going to be a bit of co-creation and open discussion. And we have some bit of time for this. So what we want to do a bit of a brainstorming with you. We're going to split the audience left and right. I think it's about the same number of people, I would say. And we'd like to discuss with you basically about what kind of features you would find important for such a middleware, something that you think that would be good for your organization, something that would be useful for the people that you work with. So thinking about what kind of features would improve your experience with working with 3D content, and if this kind of middleware can solve a key, let's say, pain point for you, what that would be. Then we're going to gather the different ideas from the two groups, and we're going to have one person kind of highlighting some of these things. And we're going to have an open discussion together with everyone. But we're going to have a bit of a part to set up because we have some materials with post-its, and we have here prepared in terms of how this will work. We have here on some big things a couple of features that we see as, let's say, starting point features, but you as active participants in this workshop will be invited to provide us with some other ideas of features that you find important, that you think that would be needed in your case. And you can write them on post-its. We're going to use these tables. We're going to split them apart and use these tables and walls on each side. So I'm going to ask you also in a bit to get up. But before you do that, there are still a couple of questions that we have for you in kind of preparations to make you think about this part of the brainstorming. So first, we're going to start with a quiet brainstorming. And I need to move the Mentimeter. I'm sorry. And we have a first question, which I'm going to show you the results of this, actually. Maybe that's even a bit better. First question is, which standards or protocols do you rely on or wish you could at the moment when you're working with 3D data? If you can name a couple of those, they should then show up here. None. Okay, that's also a good one. Very important aspect, actually, that there's nothing that... Yeah. Also a very good point.
I should read it out loud.
Don't know. Picasso, Blender, okay, all right. There's an ISO there, all right. It's very specific, that's great. IIIF, yes, there is a IIIF 3D and the working group there. So another 20 seconds, let's say, to finalize this question and then move to the next. All right. I don't see any more things, so we go to the next. Where and how are your 3D models currently stored? You have some options that you can choose from. This is a bit easier because you only have to choose from some options. So either they're stored locally, or they're in some cloud storage for which you pay, or is maybe provided by a national institution, or maybe you use a third-party platform like Sketchfab or something similar. Or you actually don't know, or the problem hasn't been solved, or you don't have any 3D models yet. So, okay, no 3D models yet, third-party platform, some of them locally. All right. Last 10 seconds. All right, more people locally, that's interesting, okay. Super. But third-party platform seems to be the winner here. All right. Thank you very much for your inputs. What are the typical file sizes of your 3D models? So do you usually deal with small 3D models, something mid-size, or very large ones? Because every organization's provided you have 3D models. So there are the 5 or 6 of you that don't yet have 3D models, or maybe more in the room that don't have some, but would be interesting to know the kind of, let's say, scale on which you use this. All right, very interesting. So quite a few people with large models, okay. Not that many with small models. Super interesting, thank you. What about file formats? Do you know some file formats which you typically use? Might be a very technical question. I'm very sorry for this. We're trying to pick your brain. OBJ, STL, Ply, okay. GLB, GLTF. Some custom, that's interesting as well. USDS, yeah. Blend, okay. Last 10 seconds maybe. I see people are still typing in. And something from Unity, of course, yeah. Thank you. Do you also store related files like textures, annotations, metadata alongside with your 3D models? And if yes, do you store this separately? Do you bundle this together? There's some formats do this by default in a way, or you don't do that. Very interesting split. Yes, separately, and yes, bundled, okay. Super interesting, thank you. All right, that's already going too far. So that's it for the questions. Now we're going to split into 2 groups. For those following at home, I'm sorry. You will need to just wait for about 10 minutes, I guess, 10, 15 minutes almost, until we kind of convene into the common session, yes. What do you think about the possibility of sharing the URL of the 3D GLB model directly by the institutions hosting with course either for downloading or viewing in XR? I mean, that's a great idea, I guess.
I think it's a really good idea. I think it's just one of the storage solutions. So, of course, you could use an S3 server or AWS, but and I think hosting it somewhere on a file server and just publishing the URI is perfect, and also makes it possible to visualize it online, of course. But also having other XR tools applied to it. So, and I would be in favor of having available such a model through a URI. And I think about the ownership, I think the viewer doesn't get ownership if it views a model from an URI. I think this lies with the person hosting the URI.